I see you're not wearing earpieces, meaning you all understand English. It's fantastic. I'm very, very pleased to be with you today. Welcome one more time. And as Mark said, and thank you again, Mark, for the warm welcome. As Mark said, we are here for a very good reason. You are here for a very good reason. You are representatives of Ukraine's society, not only civil society organizations, but you individually, as citizens, you are here as active members of society. We have a couple of occasions why we're here. I'm going to run through a few things. First of all, we are beginning to celebrate the 5th year anniversary of the USAID Engage activity. 5th year, and we're beginning it, which requires a little bit of explanation further. One, the actual birthday is going to be on the 1st of October, so we're a little bit early to celebrate. But second, our real and first sort of public outreach back a little less than 5 years ago was in December. So this is kind of a heads up that in the next couple of months we will be celebrating together with you our 5th year anniversary. But also we are, as you may know, Pact and USAID has been working together on civil society support in Ukraine almost 13 years now. It's a very lucky number, so I'm wishing you at least another 13 years of exciting work with USAID. When we launched this activity back 5 years ago, we understood that there are some challenges in civil society organizations. And these challenges some may call the crisis of representation or lack of constituency, as some may call it. But we also understood, and we still understand, that in Ukraine and around the world, there are truly active, committed, passionate citizens who are willing to take the extra mile and to do the legwork to actually bring about the changes they are striving for. A few examples from our past 5 years, if you allow me, that kind of gives a picture of how we feel Engage is about. Think of a small town, for example, where people, if you ask them about 5 years ago, they would say they do not produce any communal waste, which of course is nonsense. But thanks to some individuals, a small group of people who went in this city, basically every single door, knocking on them and talking to them about how they manage their waste, what happens to the stuff that they throw out. Several years on, in this town, it's not only a local policy to sort communal waste, but it's also funded directly from the local budget. But what is local budget and public money? In our times, not yours because you're much younger than I am, but in my times, public money was everyone's money. Nowadays, we all know that it's taxpayers' contribution to the state. Now, our children, who are lucky enough to have been able to grow up in a new era, a democratic era of Ukraine, they know this from the get-go. Thanks to Engage's partners, both governmental and non-governmental, that there is now an opportunity to, throughout the school years, learn what civic duties, civic responsibilities, citizens' rights are, and what we generally call civic education. Finally, an example that I believe many of you may have been involved with, and I hope you were, that goes back to over a decade of advocacy and pushing for reforms. More than a decade ago, if you may recall, there was something called piano players in the Verkhovna Rada, also known as Ukraine's parliament. And I'm sure many of you know what I mean by piano players. Something that MPs, members of the parliament, instead of voting on their own right, task somebody else to vote for them. A decade on, more than a decade on, only since this spring, this practice has been physically eliminated from the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. And this is thanks to all of you, and all of you who were member of the movement that began some years ago, known as Chesno. In that small city, Enerhodar, not only civil society activists have been able to push policies, but also Viktor Bunchev, who's unfortunately not with us because he is now an official, he's in fact the one who is responsible for communal waste, gathering management. And this also is an example and lesson for all of us, is that a few years from now, you may be in the position to take responsibility for these decisions. You may be in the decision to be the one that all of us will be knocking on his or her door and asking for changes. So be prepared also, not just to demand something, but also be part of the change and take responsibility for that. This is what we think Engage really is about. Sustainable changes for, with, and about citizens. We also celebrate tomorrow, speaking of sustainable change and citizens, International Day for Democracy. Democracy is all about people, all about citizens. But it's not about the majority only. Liberal democracy's key feature is that they are inclusive. They think of those who are unable to come to our events, who are unable for any physical disabilities to take the same part in society, who are unable to be heard because there are certain parts of society who are trying to exclude them. Liberal democracy is about inclusion. And I'm very, very pleased that you could come together today. But I'm now talking to those who are only looking at the screens. There's one screen over there. I would very much like all of you on the screens to be as active participants of these 2 days as those of us who are in this room. So those of you who are in the room, please make sure you include those people who are, for various reasons, couldn't come today and be here with us. Lastly, really, what is ahead of us for these 2 days? First and foremost, we hope that we will be able to work together, and it's really going to be work, to find out and learn a little bit how to better understand citizens' demands, how to better understand their dreams and desires, and provide the solutions that they're really looking for. We will do this something called human-centered design or design thinking, and I'm really, really pleased to give you the teaser that I believe we have the best human-centered design gurus of Ukraine with us for these 2 days. I'm pretty excited about that. Second of all, solutions that you come up with, hopefully, will be as innovative, exciting, and promising that we will be able to engage, that is, recommend for support to USAID for funding for the years to come. We have actually 3 opportunities for you to consider today, tomorrow, and the days after to submit your innovative, exciting ideas. We call these calls for application. I hope you all are aware of those. You will be able to see some QR codes where you can directly go and look at these calls for proposals. But again, the key thing is that what you design today, tomorrow, may actually get funded if it works out. And really, very lastly, I said tomorrow is International Democracy Day. Please mark your calendars. Those of you also on the computers, then you can go immediately to Google Calendar and Outlook calendars and all other calendars, and block your time for next year and next year. Our event hasn't happened for 2 years for obvious reasons, but we do intend to continue our annual Engage Forum. So please be ready, save the date in 2022 and in 2023 to gather around International Democracy Day again to celebrate your achievements, the achievements that we feel ownership about as well, and something that you actually will hear right after me a little bit about. So without further ado, I wish you a very productive 2 days, and I look forward to all your exciting ideas after these 2 days. Have a great forum. Thank you, folks.